Good day, EAPP tributes. Welcome to English for academic and professional purposes. I am Mrs. Charsol John H. Casala, your teacher at the EAPP Arena. In today's lesson, our lesson focus is about the language used in academic text. The most essential learning competency is to differentiate language used in academic text from various disciplines. Here are the learning objectives. Learning objective number 1, familiarize with the language used in academic text. Learning objective number 2, analyze the two texts from different disciplines. And our final objective in today's lesson is to write a text applying all the languages used in academic text. Before we move forward to our lesson for this morning, I hope by now you were able to access the pretest link seen in your classwork. It is actually a quizzes link, a 10-item pretest, just to see or to identify what you already know about this topic. So thank you very much for those who have answered. To begin with, what is academic language? So in a nutshell, academic language is commonly found in academic textbooks, essays, research paper, book reports, academic journals, and it's actually used in the classroom. So since it's a formal language as an academic language, it is also used in other academic disciplines. So moving forward, academic language is comprised of discipline-specific vocabulary, grammar and punctuation, and applications of rhetorical conventions and devices that are commonly used in a content area. So when we talk about discipline-specific vocabulary, we refer to the words or the specific words that we use in various disciplines or academic disciplines, such as, for example, in business, we use the words invoice, commodity, counter offers, or marketing maybe. When we talk about natural sciences, we hear experiments and scientific method. When we talk about medicine, we hear some terms like disease or cure or diagnosis. And for example, in social sciences, in that particular academic discipline, we hear constitution or economic standard and something like that. So we use specific vocabs in various disciplines, and we use it in a formal manner, not too formal that you will not inflict, or that you are not going to incorporate some strategies to enliven your sentences. And I'm talking about the rhetorical conventions and devices. These rhetorical conventions and devices refers to the devices that we use in expressing our thoughts and arguments in the things that we write. For example, we use alliteration or onomatopoeia or hyperbole in our sentences to make it more meaningful and to enhance your communication skills. So mind you, class, that in EAPP, our goal is to improve your writing skills. It's actually a continuation of your reading and writing skills subject, and the reason why we are teaching this to you is we would love to enhance your communication skills in writing, in academic writing. So going back, rhetorical conventions are devices that we use in control or in limit. It's actually limited based on the needs of your paragraph or of your essay. So when we talk about grammar and punctuation, we observe proper grammar or grammatical placement. We observe what do you call this? We observe syntax, or the way you place your words and phrases into the sentences. We also observe a particular idea called morphology. Deals with actually the prefixes, suffixes, and the root words, the way you combine them and you put meaning into the words that you use in your sentences. And lastly, we call, or we refer to another thing under the convention, which is called semantics. It's actually more inclined with the meaning of the words that you put into writing. So how meaningful it is and how it goes well with the rest of the words that you use in your paragraph. But the question is, where do we actually use academic language? Of course, we use it in academic types of text or in writing academic types of text. So academic types of text or text is a formal genre of writing, and one is expected to use strict style, registers, and formats since we have to present it in a formal manner. So some examples of academic texts are as follows. We have essays, we have dissertations, theses, reports, analysis, journals, book reports, and such. So it is also said that it presents words and terms typical for the field in a formal way, where it is known for the following distinctive attributes. We have the attribute of formality, objectivity, explicitness, and caution, which we are going to discuss one by one later on in our slides. So here are the main academic disciplines, or what we call the fields of study and knowledge, where we use academic language. So the samples are humanities, we have the field of social sciences, business, medicine, natural, and applied sciences. So the common thing that is used in here is academic language, or the language used in different disciplines vary in terms of specific vocabulary, but their common denominator is academic language. So today we are going to master, or we are going to learn the languages that we should use in such kind of academic disciplines, because we'll never know after you graduate 4 years from now or 6 years from now, you'll be able to venture on different kinds of disciplines, and it is a must for an applicant or for an employee to be able to know how to write and express their arguments and ideas in different fields. So let's continue with the next slide. Today, we are going to discuss the distinctive attributes of academic language. So we have 4 types of attributes, or 4 kinds of languages. So the first one is the language called formal language or formality, the attribute of formality. So formal language or formality, the attribute of formality, reflects a dignified stance in writing. As a member of the academic community where the language used requires precision. So in formal language, our focus is to utilize formality, or to maintain formality in the text that we write. It requires precision, specific and accurate ideas in the things that you write about. It has this dignified stance in writing, meaning we don't usually get to throw a joke or to use flowery words in our sentences, because it has to be straight to the point and concise. So to attain formality of the academic text, one should avoid the following. The first one is the use of colloquial words and expressions like stuff, a lot of, thing, sort of, gonna, or wanna. Some kind of colloquial words are used in essays but are not used in academic texts. The second one is what we call the abbreviated forms and contractions, or what we simply call shortened words like can't for cannot, doesn't for does not, shouldn't for should not, and cause for because. So since it's academic text, we have to be very formal with the use of our words. Letter C, 2-word verbs like put off, bring up, put off or bring up. To give you an example, here is an informal and a formal sentence. So for informal, we have English teachers are kinda using different teaching strat to teach grammar stuff. So we have the words kinda, strat, and stuff, which are inappropriate in or under the attribute or distinctive attribute formality. So to make it formal, we have to just say it like English teachers are using different teaching strategies to teach grammar rules. So stuff is changed into the rules, which is a little bit, which is specific, not a little bit, but it's actually specific, strat into strategies, and kinda is kinda erased in the formal type of sentence. The next attribute or type of language is what we call objective language, or the attribute of objectivity. So, as seen in the picture on the screen, it doesn't use personal pronouns in sentences. So, objective language refers to a language free from bias, based upon verifiable evidences, and with no manifestations of a personal tone in academic writing. So, to observe objective language, or the attribute of objectivity, the paragraph should contain evidences. Arguments are based on evidences. There's no manifestation of your personal tone, so avoid using personal pronouns such as I, we, and such in academic writing. So it's not actually a formal, it's not actually a personal essay, but a formal text. So here are the following things that we need to avoid. So avoid the use of personal pronouns like you, I, and we. So do not write this kind of sentence. During synchronous class or classes, we're allowed to pry out questions. So the words that are not appropriate in these samples are where, which is a contraction of we are. So you use we, which doesn't follow the rule of objectivity, and the contraction doesn't follow the formal language rule or attribute. Another thing is to pry out is a little vague, and it's actually an informal term. So how are you going to write it? So during synchronous classes, students are allowed to ask questions. So instead of saying we are allowed, students, a specific noun is used in the sentence, and pry out question turned into simply ask questions. Another thing is use it constructions, such as it has been suggested that, it was found out that, it appears that, it is widely accepted that. So, and to observe objectivity, you can actually use the word it. It constructions or it sentences. For example, it has been reported that Chinese company Sinovac Biotech's COVID-19 vaccine, CoronaVac, has passed the 50% threshold for efficacy and demonstrated its effectiveness in late-stage trials conducted in Brazil. So this sentence is actually an example of objectivity. Why? First, it has the it construction, for it has been reported, ... Another thing is it pertains or it shows evidences like CoronaVac. CoronaVac has passed the 50% threshold for efficacy and demonstrated its effectiveness in late-stage trials conducted in Brazil. So it's actually a good example sentence for academic text. Next is to use passive voice. So this should be used when the doer of the action in the sentence is unknown or irrelevant to the discussion. So instead of using active voice all the time, we have to prefer passive voice this time in academic writing, because most of the time, the essays that you write about, of course, are based on other authors or based on other scientists, based on other writers, but there are some that doesn't have any doer or it doesn't have any subject at all. So use passive voice if it happens or if it occurs. Passive sentence construction emphasizes events and processes the sentence is describing. So another thing for passive voice is its focus, or it highlights the events and the processes and not the doer. Unlike for active voice, alam nyo naman na it emphasizes the doer of the action. For example, a sentence in an active voice says or reads, "We cut a segment of the apple and place it in agar solution." So to make it passive, a segment of the apple was cut and placed in agar solution. It's much more formal and it avoided the use of personal pronoun we. The third attribute, distinctive attribute of an academic text is explicitness or explicit language. So an academic text uses an explicit language. Explicit language uses appropriate signposting strategies which allow readers to trace the relationship of various parts in the study. So when we talk about signposting strategies, we refer to transitional devices and conventions that we use in our written material or in our text. Here are the common signposts or signposts as signal words. So we have time and order, at first, eventually, finally, first. Comparison, similar ideas in comparison, in the same way and similarly. For contrast or opposite ideas, we have but, despite, in spite of, even so, however, in contrast. For cause and effect, we have accordingly, as a consequence, and as a result. So to give examples, we use for example, for instance, such as thus. To generalize an idea or statement, we have as a rule, for the most part, generally, in general, normally, on the whole. For summary or conclusion, we have finally, in brief, in conclusion. And for explanation or equivalence, we have that is to say, this means, to be more precise, to put it another way. And for addition, we have apart from this, as well as, besides, furthermore, in addition, moreover. And for emphasis, we have chiefly, especially, in detail, in particular, mainly, notably, and particular. So when we use signposts, appropriate signposts in our sentences, in the essays, or in the text that we are going to write in EAPP, it's actually more formal, and it actually looks like the writer is serious with what he or she is saying, and it provides relationship to the text or to the words that you are to embed in your written text. Lastly, we have the attribute of caution or caution language. So it is also observed in academic texts. So what is this kind of language? Caution language is needed to avoid sweeping generalizations because an academic writing requires care since knowledge is built from proven theories and concepts. So this caution language reminds me of the way you express your ideas in an opinion article or in an editorial article when you avoid claiming or generalizing things, but you focus more on providing theories and concepts and evidences in such. So to give you an example, here is a sentence with poor construction. Government officials are corrupt. So in this sentence, it seems that the writer is claiming that all government officials are corrupt. So no one is exempted. So to avoid this sweeping generalization, we can improve it using different words, different kinds of words like modals, adverbs, and verbs. So here are some improved sentences. Some government officials may be corrupt. So the word may is a modal, and it says that it doesn't actually generalize the idea that all government officials are corrupt. They may be corrupt, but they may also not. Another improved sentence is corruption is usually linked to some key government officials. So we have usually linked. So it only says that usually, it's only usually, but it's not all the time and it's not always. Corruption is usually linked to some key government officials. Then the last improved sentence is a number of government officials tend to be linked with cases of corruption. So we have the word tend to be, we have the word link, and we have the words a number, which shows that not all government officials are corrupt. So In writing academic text, you have to avoid sweeping generalization or simply generalizing um, your idea or argument about a particular topic. So here are some of the things or the words that you can use to avoid generalization. So we have introductory verbs like seem, tend, look like, appear to be, think, believe, doubt, be sure, indicate, or suggest. Second, certain lexical verbs we have believe, assume, suggest. Certain modal verbs such as will, must, would, may, might, and could. Adverbs of frequency we have often, sometimes, usually. Modal adverbs we have certainly, definitely, clearly, probably, possibly, perhaps, and conceivably. We have modal adjectives. We have certain, definite, clear, probable, possible. And we have modal nouns, assumption, possibility, and probability. So let's have a guided practice. The first thing that we have to identify is the text academic or not? Guided practice number 1. Sacketon found out that among the student's essay, errors in the use of verbs are most common, followed by errors in the use of prepositions, problems in word choice, and problems in subject-verb agreement. Is it an academic text or not? I will give you 3 seconds to try to think of it. 3, 2, 1, time's up. So the answer is academic text. So it's actually an example of objectivity and formality. It's under formal, it's objective, and it actually tackles a specific or relevant issue in a particular discipline. So it's an academic text. The second one, guided practice number 2. It was also found that the results of the study concurred with Berg's 1975 hypothesis that seeds are protected from fire through their burial in ants' nest. I will give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Let's reveal the answer. The answer is, it's an example of academic text. So it is an example of an academic text because it has the it construction with the lines it was also found out. So this means that it has avoided the use of personal pronouns, and it actually used an evidence based on the results of this study concurred with Berg's 1975. So it's an example of an academic text. Guided practice number 3. When we put our hope in God's promises, we find peace. Is it an academic text or not? 3, 2, 1. Let's proceed with the answer. So the answer is, it's not an academic text. So the reason is that we have used, or these lines use the personal pronoun we, which made it more subjective rather than objective. So it actually failed to follow the rules of objectivity. So I hope you learned something from the guided practice and the discussion part. And that ends our recorded video lesson for week 1 lesson, language used in academic text for English for academic and professional purposes. This is Ma'am Cha once again in the EAPP arena. If you have any questions about what we have discussed in today's lesson, please feel free to message me at my Facebook account or email me at charsoljohn.casala@gmail.com. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye and see you in our synchronous class, EAPP Tributes.